let's go ahead and start off in the first story. This is from the Gateway Pundit. Supreme Court allows Virginia to remove 1,600 alleged non citizens from voter rolls. Three liberal justices dissent. That's right. Three of them dissented. Why? Why?
What did they dissented upon?
Well, let's find out. The Supreme Court on Wednesday cleared the way for Virginia to remove 1,600 individuals from its voter rolls ahead of Election Day, overturning a previous lower court decision that had blocked the effort. Recall that the federal judge had ordered Virginia to reinstate over 1,600 individuals to the state's voter rolls last week, just weeks before the upcoming election. This decision, handed down by the U.S. District Judge Patricia Tolliver Giles, nominated by Joe Biden, raises serious concerns about election integrity and the potential for voter fraud in the Commonwealth. Well, not even just that, but the fact that the governor said one, it flipped based on this judge, and then the Supreme Court had to come and overturn it. We got a much more serious problem than just what's going on in Virginia. What do you think?
So, yeah, Supreme Court yet again drops the ball on issues because Supreme Court has no backbone whatsoever on anything that they do because they get cases. They only get, I believe, 30 cases a year, and they just go, not interested, and throw it back to the lower courts on most of the things that they do.
Right. And not just that. Well, I don't think that it's it was the which it's a U.S. district judge that did that, but the Supreme Court is the one that overturned it to where now they can clear the voter rolls. So,
so they did something for once.
Yeah. Yeah, so Biden's Gestapo Justice Department, that's not, targeted, initiated this lawsuit claiming that Virginia's voter roll maintenance efforts allegedly violated the National Voter Registration Act's quiet period provision, which restricts systematic removal efforts within 90 days of an election, even though they state that it's supposed to be the freest and fairest elections of all.
We've heard that before.
Yeah, we've definitely heard that before. Assistant Attorney General Kristen Clark defended the DOJ's actions, insisting that last-minute removal efforts risk disenfranchising, let me fix that, illegal voters.
Oh, I have a thing. Why wasn't this done, I don't know, 3 years ago?
I don't know, but I have this sneaky suspicion that not even a suspicion. I think what we need to do is all rolls just need to be cleaned every, 8 years. Done. Every state, all the way through. And I don't know who's going to vet that, though. That's the only problem, is who's going to be the ones to vet that process, to make sure that there isn't one lean or the lean one way or the other within the 8 years that happens.
I have an idea. Hear me out.
Mm-hmm.
So, voter ID is racist. IDs are racist. But everyone has a social security number. Why not just tie your vote to you have to bring your social security card in to vote?
You need to be able to see the person too.
No, that's totally racist. Completely racist. How could you, Fluffy?
The Amish don't have driver's licenses. They have social security cards, though. How's that one work?
I don't know. Maybe one's made out of paper or one's made out of plastic, something like that. But anyways, I will say this, though. This falls right into my prophecy that I made a couple weeks ago that I stated for the first time last month. As soon as Virginia cleared those rolls, Virginia is going to turn red.
And I stand by my statement I said earlier. I think Oregon's in play. I think Oregon will turn red. And I said that 2 weeks ago. I only publicly said that, I think, what was it, Tuesday?
We're going to have to put some wagers on this. But what were you saying, Scrap?
This right here, this conversation, or the question you ask about vetting, has echoes of what's happening in Ohio right now. Because our attorney general just filed a lawsuit against the DHS because we're trying right now to vet. We've been trying since June, July, August, on and on and on, multiple requests from the federal government to grant Ohio access to their immigration database for who is not just coming in, but who is actually a citizen now, people who are going through the process at every level. Currently, we only have access to what's called the SAVE database, which is useless because they can't search by name and address and social security, all the things that you normally need when you're going to go somewhere to prove who you are. You can't actually search for these people in that. And it doesn't have, there's some other things that it doesn't have too. I can't quite get up the back of my head right now, but we have been fighting tooth and nail to get a response out of DHS, and finally they've filed a lawsuit which has been joined by 15 other states because these little minuscule garbage databases that they gave the states to use to vet voters, because there are, and they quote the statutes in the U.S. code and everything. Hey, you have to give us information. You have to grant us access to vet people in order for them to be legally able to vote in any state. Any state can go to DHS and say, give us the info because we can't figure out if this person's legitimately a citizen or not. They're not even allowed to vote in a state if they're not if they're not actually a citizen of the United States. So a lot of these states that are allowing people to vote illegally that are not citizens at the local levels, that's actually illegal too. They're not actually allowed to do that. But the feds are letting them do it, and they're not enforcing it.
Well, on top of that, I thought the states ran the elections.
Allegedly.
That's our new word for the year. Allegedly. Yeah.
So who vets? So who's vetting? Well, whoever has access to the database. Kind of hard to vet if you don't have access.
I'm going to call it here. So, what is Trump's biggest thing for saying the election was stolen? The biggest takeaway for a lot of this was they changed the election laws within a certain time frame, right? What are they doing now? They're changing the election laws. So is Kamala Harris going to have a lawsuit on her hands? Are they going to sponsor that challenge? Even though there's no standing, quote unquote?
Well, that's what I'm afraid of, because there was no standing in 2020. But now, when you think about it, it's already been out there in the public for such a long time, So now they know that, okay, we might actually have to do something this time. But if that happens, then they're going to have to go back to 2020 and fix that as well. And how does that work? So maybe this might be a thing where they just throw their hands up in the air and say, you know what? We're not doing anything till the election's over.
Yeah, if anything, because they can't turn back the time on stuff. So this is actually a good analogy. When I was a tables game dealer at the casino, what we would end up doing if you pulled a card out by accident, that card was face up, and there was no cycling the cards backwards. That card was the next card out, period. And everyone had the opportunity to take it or leave it. And like the dealer had to take the card, or if like the hand required the dealer to take the card. If not, the card was burned. So in this instance here, what they're probably going to do is they'll change the laws. They will say, okay, here's a set thing. We will not turn back the time. We will just operate with this going forward. And things will have to change within a certain time period before the election actually takes off next time. That is what I think is going to happen. They're not going to overturn anything. They're not going to change anything. They're just going to say, okay, now that this is done with and cleared up, here's the guidelines we're going forward with. Anything, and if any kind of tomfoolery happens during that period that's inside, then things get a little dicey.
Right. No, I definitely agree.